All right, we're back with another episode, and this is a special episode. I thought it was fitting to bring on somebody with a little legalese, and also, someone who has an Instagram presence in the community and has been outspoken about some issues. I'd say she supports the community. She does quite a bit. But first, I want to thank the sponsors. I want to thank Volquartsen Firearms. If you haven't checked out Volquartsen, please check out Volquartsen Firearms and all the sponsors at www.johnbartoloshow.com. I want to thank all those folks there listed. Please take a minute to check them out and all the different companies. There's about 10 or 12 that have supported the show, and I'm excited because we're going to be moving into the new location, so I'm getting hyped about that. But our guest today has a lot to talk about. She's going to give us some insight. She loves the community. Wait, don't blow it. We got the one and only Liberty Austin. What's going on?
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. You almost
Thanks
jumped the gun.
Me.
So I'm excited. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I want to get into some things. You've already, mentioned a few offline. I think you have a very unique perspective of the gun industry. You are a paralegal, and I know we're not going to get super into legal stuff, but I think you have a unique perspective on the industry, and I think our conversation is going to go really fun for the listeners. I want to start with how you got into the guntography stuff and everything else, and how you came about being involved in the gun industry.
Okay, well, I was exposed, how I got started with guns in general. I wasn't born into a family that was like a big deal, or, my parents weren't taking hunting or anything like that. Actually quite the opposite. Like, my family was very anti-gun, very left-wing, Democrat. And so guns were like not considered a good thing. I was the survivor of a crime at a very young age. I went to stay with my sisters who were in college. I have a sister and a cousin. They were attending college in Austin at the time. And a serial rapist broke into our apartment and basically he raped my sister, he tied up my cousin, and I was able to escape. Okay. So that for me started this journey of needing a solution to a problem. So I had nightmares for years after that. It was just the most awful thing that had ever happened to me, if you can imagine. My sister afterwards, like, she's this night and day, she was this normal girl. And afterwards she was just completely destroyed. Her life was just destroyed. And for years we just had to cope whatever way we could with, moving on and obviously trying to, live a normal life, but we couldn't. I couldn't. How it happened for me was I was introduced to hunting. Hunting for me was like the turning point in my life. I feel like it saved me in so many ways, because I got comfortable with firearms at that point. After, getting comfortable with the whole hunting, got my first year, learned what it was to eat and harvest your own food, which was amazing to me. But then, purchasing my first firearm for self-defense was a game changer for me. Ever since that moment, since I picked up my first firearm, I sleep at night. I mean, it was just a solution. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was game changing for me. It changed how I felt about everything. My confidence was back. My power was back. I just felt like, hey, I can take this on. I immediately got my concealed carry license, within just a few months of having picked up a firearm. And I've been carrying ever since. And that is how I get through, my day. And I couldn't imagine not having that right. So I got started in the firearms industry kind of by accident. I didn't even know there was like a gun community at the time. This was just like 2014, several years after I started shooting. I didn't know there was a gun community. I didn't know there were people like you out there. I didn't know there were, I didn't even know Facebook or Instagram, like what that was. So I started a photography business, posted a picture one night of a deer that I had harvested, and it kind of cycled, like it got reshared a bunch of times and I got a bunch of feedback. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. People actually care, about my hunting. And then I thought, I'm going to post another one. And then it's kind of like went on from there. Discovered the gun community, was welcomed into it by, all these different companies, just people in general that were Second Amendment advocates and people who just were like me, and I felt really welcomed into that community, and it kind of took off from there. So it was accidental. I didn't intend it to, get to where it is now. But I went from, being paralegal, full time, that was my job. And now I'm like pretty much full time in the self-defense industry per se. So that's kind of my journey. That answers your question.
It's rare that, a guest tells a story that kind of blows me away right off the bat, but there's so much there. And you went through an insanely traumatic experience. Insanely traumatic. I mean, there's therapy in there. There's there's so much. And I can't imagine what puts you at ease.
Well, even talking about it now, so many years later, every time I talk about it, like it gets shaky. It makes me emotional.
Of course.
It's PTSD that will never go away. It's just traumatic, and it makes you never cease watching your back. It's just an endless, cycle of watching doors, watching exits, and people always say I'm paranoid and everything else, and I'm okay with that. This is what I need to make me feel safe.
I think or like to believe that everybody at one point or another is either a part of some kind of incident in their life, right? As a kid, I say as a kid in college, different things, you're involved in fights. I've been robbed once or twice. And it's traumatic. You box it away, you file it away. And, I think to go through something that you went through at that level, at that scale, right? You never want to see that happen again. And people ask me all the time, being in the gun industry, for whatever reason, I think it's a thing. You get asked, what gun should I buy, or what's this, what's that? And there's no right answer. And I try to tell people that. But I always do have one fundamental truth I always stick to. I go, anytime somebody's trying to get in your house or your home or where you feel safe, they're coming not to say hi. They're coming to rob you, rape you, and take what you have. And I try to drive that into people's heads. I'm like, so understand that. So know that. So be prepared for that. And that's what I try to tell people about people coming into your home. And you lived it. You lived it.
Right.
And that's a real thing. Very real for you. How do you explain to people, when people say to you, how do you even unpack that when people say, hey, Liberty, why are you into firearms?
I make a point to tell anybody that I can that your life is worth protecting. And until you're in that situation, until you feel that adrenaline to your body and you're really thinking this is it, you're about to die, there's no, this is what's going to happen to you. Nobody can imagine that unless you're in that situation. I can say it a million times to a woman and she's not going to get it. And I've had women tell me, to my face that I've been saying to them, hey, you need a gun, you need to protect yourself, you need to think about this. I've been told stupid responses like, well, but that's killing somebody. It's rape is rape. Killing somebody is killing somebody. And what I say to that is I've seen my own sister, who I adore, literally get to the point where she lost the will to live because of how deeply that rape affected her.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that robbed her of her entire life, of her happiness and normality. And how can anybody say that? And that's just, it's disgusting to me that people think that way. But that's why I'm just so adamant that women especially should consider what's going to happen when that man breaks down that door. What's going to happen when you're in there by yourself with him? He's going to slit your throat and do horrible things to you before he does that. And he doesn't care. So consider that. Consider that you have just a moment to react. And you might not walk out of it. We were told that this guy, he fortunately got caught. I was the only one that was able to identify him because he blindfolded all of his victims. He had stabbed the girl prior. He left her for dead. And we were told that his objective was to kill my cousin and my sister because he had been stalking them for a couple of weeks. I just happened to spend the night with them that weekend, like to visit. Had I not been there, I might be telling a different story right now because he didn't count on me being there to the element of surprise. He couldn't handle 3 basically. But we think about that all the time. Sometimes my sister and I just, we talk about it, and it's incredible that we survived that. And it's just terrifying for me to think that anybody would go through that.
Have you told this story on any other podcast?
I have told it on another podcast, a couple of podcasts. I've actually been interviewed by NBC, has actually done some filming. They wanted to know more about why I carried a gun, and my perspective is unique in that I don't carry a gun in the perspective of it's tactical or, I'm not like a professional shooter or anything like that. I actually carry a gun because it is my safety, so I have actually talked about it a few times. Yeah, but
was it on another, I didn't know if it was on another show because I hadn't heard it.
No. I did do one with Amy Robbins.
I know.
Got a show. Yeah. Yep. I did do that.
Yeah. Amy's amazing, by the way. I've told the story once or twice about how her and I met, and it's funny through, Michelle Viscuzzi. I connected Michelle with a mutual friend now of all of ours, Kat Zingano. Kat's a friend of mine, and she was a former UFC fighter and all that. And, it's kind of crazy because I'm at the booth that shot at Glock, and Michelle and I are chatting, and Amy comes over, and I didn't know Amy at the time. And Amy just starts thanking, Michelle for an introduction. And she says, yeah, and Kat's so great, and da-da-da. And I said, I look at Michelle, I'm like, you little bitch. I'm like, that's mine. I'm like, Michelle's like, I love her. She's like a sister to me, honestly. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. And Amy and I started talking, and Amy and I hit it off. I mean, she's like, like a sister I never had in the business, and Michelle and I are fairly close. And I was just cracking up. I'm like, you're pimping out my contacts now. Right. So much fun. Just such great people. I mean, and that was phenomenal for us to link up. I actually just wished her well. She just had a baby. So happy for her. She looked like she was ready to burst at SHOT Show. And we may have lost Liberty. She'll call back. But anywho, Amy Robbins is the best. If you get a chance, go check out her company. It's Alexo Athletica. Really awesome. Phenomenal. But we'll get her back. Let me get her back on.
Hello?
I lost you. We lost you.
It's okay.
So it's okay. It happens once in a while.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah. But I was saying, Amy Robbins, if you guys get a chance, go check out Alexo Athletica. They're a great brand. She's phenomenal. Definitely.
And I actually wear those leggings all the time. I mean, I love the purpose behind what she does because they're very useful.
She makes a great product. It's awesome. She's done a great job, and I had the luxury of having her on, and she's just great asset to the business. But getting back on track, I mean, there's so much, that you go through that shapes your mindset, and you have an extremely unique perspective on self-defense and, preparedness. And, since that, obviously you've taken it extremely seriously. Did you seek out training immediately?
I did. I feel like I'm always looking for training just because with the gun with females, not just because they're females, but just because, you pick up bad habits along the way. It's just something you always want to do and refresh and just keep getting better at. So yeah, started getting training right away. Took that really seriously. Like I became a total gun snob too, which was kind of unexpected. Like I will take a gun, and you can ask my husband about this, but I will take a gun over jewelry, shoes, bags any day. I just love guns. They're beautiful to me. They're sexy. They have it all. I mean, it's just something that it became like my thing, my go-to thing, my whole, like, some people do shoe therapy or, they buy a lot of clothes. Like I could care less. I would like shop at Walmart and, get a nice gun.
Is it the snobbery of a company or a make, or just you love them in general?
I do. I like the make. Like 1911 was my first pistol, and I fell in love with STI. Like before STI got big, STI, like it was right down the street from where I lived. I would grow up in Austin, and so STI was kind of the big thing. I just love their quality pistols. Like I have some of their first pistols from when they first came out, and when I've gone back to them later, they're like, no, we no longer have those models. Like all these improvements have been made, but
yeah, Nathan does
like
a good
Benelli,
job.
Yeah, I like a good quality gun. There's nothing like that. I mean, there's certain brands that I'm very partial to for sure.
Benelli makes a phenomenal product. I've never owned a Benelli. I have 3 Mossbergs and a Remington shotgun. I've never owned a Benelli.
The Super Black Eagle is just the best for waterfowl, for turkey, for clays. I absolutely love the Super Black Eagle for the Benelli. It's the best.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just never got around to it.
You have to try it.
I've shot them. I've never got around to owning one for a number. I mean, when you get to the point I have probably quite a few pieces. I just, to bite into another brand leads me down a wormhole. And my true passion, if you know me, is lever action guns. So I have tons of lever action guns, and I just love them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like lever action too.
Yeah, lever action's the stuff I love.
I like trying new things. I feel like I'm still always trying new things.
Yeah. So you get into the training now, and you start taking it up a notch. Is it something where this still fuels you, or has the passion of the industry taken over, and are you directing your energy towards the cause and being a part of protecting the right and those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with my Instagram page or social media, I always want to just show myself as an average person that I am, that cares about guns, and in hopes that that's going to inspire, some females out there who maybe don't see themselves that way or don't think that they could live that way, and just kind of how into their lives. I'm also just a huge advocate for the Second Amendment, because the whole talk of red flag laws. I have suffered from PTSD, still do to this day. My sister is a person who suffers from PTSD as a result of this. I can imagine being red flagged because I may have to go and get some type of psychiatric help for maybe depression or anything like that. And that is why I'm so passionate about not ever going along with red flag laws, is because that would affect me tremendously. And we have to be aware of that, not only with women who may be victims of crimes, but, obviously our veterans who come back with PTSD. This threatens our ability to carry a firearm, especially if it makes us feel safe. So that's why I'm just such a huge advocate for that.
The red flag laws are crazy, and it's become a backdoor way to hamper the rights. There's a lot I don't agree with, and I could spend an hour just on how those are structured, how they've been presented, the way in which counties and towns have accepted them. And look at Virginia, it's a mess because of some of the different things that they've put in place, including some of those restrictions, and it's a disaster. My solution to a lot of the different groups, Liberty, has been that they have to, at some point or another, step in, and we have to have national reciprocity. National reciprocity is the answer. I've been a big advocate of national reciprocity for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
You know, I can't accept some of the things that have gone on in some of these states and counties and what's been allowed. And I think at this point, you know, I've talked to several congressmen about it on air. It has to be done. You know, we could go down a wormhole here. The whole way that they've structured the suppressor laws, everything. I mean, it's ridiculous. The buying accessories, it's become a cottage industry. I'm all for the tax stamp. Pay the stamp, but give you the damn product and register it right there. You know, if you want to charge the $200 and say it's an additional fee for registration, go ahead. Go ahead. But I mean, the fact that you can't go home with it and there's another layer of fingerprints, the fact that if you have a permit in one state, it's not good in another, you know, it's just insane. And it's gotten ridiculous. So out of control. And I know that gets away from red flag laws, but they layered those on top. It just has to become nationalized. The Bill of Rights is national. It has to be a national thing. It's just gotten out of control.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I think that any measure that they take to, restrict us it's a violation, because it's within our right to carry, and there's no restrictions in the Constitution. So that's bizarre to me how, you know, it's gone to this point where they do place those restrictions.
Well, and people try to spin it that it's hunting and it's this, and it's become a political ping pong ball. And that's the problem. It's become just something that's passed between politicians and argued across aisles, and it really shouldn't be at this point. I think we're headed for a turn, but I also think, Liberty, and this gets into a deeper conversation, and if you listen back to some podcasts, we have to get our act together as an industry. And as an industry, there's a lot of things that need to stop. And I've likened our industry a lot to like Braveheart uniting the clans. It's everybody needs to get on the same page. Everybody needs to cut the shit. The NRA, the NSSF, the USCCA, they need to all get on the same page. But the problem is everybody's jockeying and trying to put their penis on the table and have a measuring contest, and that all needs to stop. And everybody needs to get into the same room and have the same conversation. And everybody just needs to say, you know what? This is what needs to happen, period. Whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And I'm tired of it becoming a bureaucratic flipping point. And I'm having conversations at a far deeper level and higher level than most people think with certain folks. And there just needs to be one person that brings this all together.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, I think that there's just so much arguing amongst these groups that you're talking about, and nobody's on the same page. And ultimately, it's the gun owner, the person at home, the housewife at home, the parent, whatever at home that is feeling threatened because
that's
what's going to happen.
And go back.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could go back and listen to my podcast, Liberty. I had a guy who's an executive in the firearms business from Knights Armament, and he's literally saying that, you know, additional gun owners isn't the answer, and people need to have a certain amount of training, and he's being secular. He sounds like Seth Moulton. No. And I'm like, this is what it's come to in the gun industry. Like, people, stand by this secular movement, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely unacceptable. And
I mean, I would love to see in a perfect world where, firearms are being taught to children in schools at an early age, because I think that would eliminate a lot of the worries that side has.
A lot of it has to do with the messaging, and I agree with free speech, and I agree with the freedom of people putting things out there. But you go and you look even recently I tried to get Tim on Military Arms Channel. He's like, look at this gun, it bump fires, and he's holding it at his hip, and I'm like, that stuff doesn't help. You're not helping. You're
I
creating.
do that a lot too with women, where women will attack women. And I hate that. I think that is the worst. We want women to arm themselves. Why put them down? Like that is
what
the
do you
worst
see
part.
out there? What gets you fired up?
Well, some of the things, where there will be like that whole idea that a female, posing with a firearm that's overly sexy or whatever. That gets me every time because we're saying it's hypocrisy because we're saying we want to arm the nation.
Wow. It's crazy. It just blows my mind. It's just
ridiculous. It's hypocrisy. I've had a couple of women, postings on my page where I may be shooting something, and I'm not an expert by any means. I've received lots of training, but I always consider myself like a student for life. I'm in no way trying to be a competitive shooter or anything like that. But I may hold my, firearm, in a way that somebody may disagree with, or something didn't shift, exactly the way that somebody wanted to see it. And a female will come and say something about that. And that just kind of blows me away to think that.
Well, because the industry, we allowed it. It's because of our own doing. Now, I'm a big advocate that people either need to use their company name or real name on Instagram. That's a side topic. But the industry is in an interesting flux. And everybody out there has a mentality of, you have what I want, so I'm going to take it. And the way I'm going to take it is through disinformation and putting you down. And I'm unhappy. I get DMs of people that, I literally got a DM from a guy the other day. I posted a quote from Sig, and he's like, yeah, well, they're just a big monster. And I'm like, bro, if you got nothing good to say, go away. Go away. I'm just tired of the negativity, and I have to make a comment, and I have to be, I have to put you down, and that's just the way I have to be. And I'm going to put you down. I lost Liberty again. I'm going to get her back. But I'm so tired of like the put down mentality. You
have reached the voicemail of Martha.
Lost her for a second. But there's a put down mentality that exists in the firearms mentality. And I don't know why. I lost you for a second.
John,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That was my fault. That one was my fault.
It's okay. But I was saying there's a put down mentality that exists in the firearms business where people feel like, I'm going to put you down. And that exists in life, and I get it. It's everywhere. It's in every business. But people just need to shut the fuck up. They need to shut the fuck up.
They really do.
And that's
they're not helping, and they're only making us look bad to other people.
Here's the thing. If you put your finger in the wrong place, who cares? Who cares? Honestly, who cares? Who cares? Are you having fun? Did you enjoy the day? Did you have a good time? And most people don't realize when you take a picture sometimes, it's a picture. Nobody cares. Like, you're not solving the greater good. It's like nobody gives a shit. You never see anyone when like somebody's barbecuing, they're like, damn, those steaks, they're really not big enough. It's just so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It's just reached a level of like, I just shake my head.
It does. And it's really not going to encourage, people to get the training they need or anything else when they're being ostracized by their own community. It's not right. It's not right at all.
No. But how do you fix it?
There's always going to be people like that, aren't there? It's hard to fix that kind of problem. It's just ignorance, if you ask me. it's hypocrisy to some extent, because you're just not understanding that you're harming the bigger picture. We have to stick together. We have to stick together. We're already being attacked by the left. We're already being attacked by gun grabbers. And here we go. Like, we're having to fight stupid issues within our own community. So we're not helping ourselves.
I just don't know. Like, people need to step up to fix it. It just has to be, it needs to go away.
Absolutely.
I get to, like, how do we fix it? And that's why I say it's like uniting the clans, Liberty. It's like, how do we get to a point where, there's some people out there that just want to support. It's like when you say, like, hey, I bought a Glock 19. The first thing out of people's mouths is, what's your background? Who cares? Who cares? Seriously, who cares?
Exactly.
I just, that's what my big thing is. Who cares? I just don't get it. It's like, it's bad enough. It's hard enough to buy a gun, right? So let me explain this to everybody listening. And Liberty, you can chime in. You don't know people's story like I didn't know yours. It's hard enough to go into a store, purchase a firearm, fill out 97 pieces of paperwork, put down your hard-earned money, wait whatever waiting period you have to, go through whatever rigmarole you need to carry the thing, okay? But we've reached a point as an industry where it's absolutely insane to go through the process. And then on top of it all, you have to be heckled. You have to be heckled. And the heckling is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And I'm tired of, I'm very, I enjoy the banter. I enjoy the back and forth, and I enjoy people having opinions, and I think it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. Either you
John,
have the word. Yeah,
that one wasn't me.
You're the only person that's ever cut out that many times. Stay where there's good reception. So
what happens is, like, your voice will just cut out, and then it'll just show that the call is still running, but there's no sound, and then it just cuts off.
Well, stay on the line. Maybe it'll kick back in. So what I was saying is, I'm all for joking and I'm all for sarcasm. I'm the most sarcastic person there is. But the heckling and the level of heckling that we've deteriorated to, it's just not productive. Like, what I can't stand, one of the things I can't stand right now that I go through is, like, LinkedIn. Everybody puts these auto response things on LinkedIn. So you connect with someone on LinkedIn and you get this thing where they're, like, trying to sell you something, or you're trying to buy something. And I'm like, I don't want to buy anything from you. Just, like, can't you just, like, give a personalized, like, hey, how are you? Right. It's just poor marketing. It's just poor. You're supposed to connect with people on somewhat of an intimate level and be like, hey, how are you? It's good to meet you. I noticed we shared mutual friends. Instead, it's like, hi, would you like to purchase a photo package? Or would you like to buy, like, a knife from China? No. How about we start with, hi, my name's John, or hi, my name's Liberty, or, I just, like, the industry, like, no, the reason I keep saying nobody cares is you're a person behind an account that usually doesn't have any followers. Nobody gives a shit. And let me explain something to you. Whether you're jealous that people have X following or people pay attention, the reason nobody cares is because of your attitude. And if you change your attitude and you approach it differently, and if you think you can train someone, how about saying, like, hey, I'd like to offer you X, or I'd like to offer you Y, or, like, hey, if you're ever in the San Diego area, I offer X training. Instead of being like, by the way, your foot is 4 inches askew from where it needs to be. And we're going to get you, for that. I just don't get it. And it speaks to a greater, deeper problem from in our industry. And I had a conversation the other day with a firearms company. And I've had this conversation a couple times, but this was an executive. And I said, the problem is we created these people. Some of these people that are out there that are big time somebodies, we created them. We gave them money, we gave them resources, and then we're shocked when we realize they don't know shit. Or they've built themselves a platform and we gave them resources. And it's like marketing in the gun industry. So many companies are so poor at it and so terrible, and they continue to do the same dumb shit, and it continues to get us nowhere. And we wonder why we don't progress. We wonder why we don't move forward. We wonder why we don't do the things. Solution's really simple. If you're not going to be supportive or positive, then shut the fuck up. If you're not going to support
I agree with that.
and help to grow the industry, then be quiet. And there's a lot of good people out there. And nobody cares about the background conversation. Truly, at the highest levels. Are you a good person? Are you a good family member? Do you raise your kids right? Do you put food on the table? Like, nobody gives a shit. Because the argument only gets deeper at the higher levels. Well, he was only a SEAL. He wasn't Special Forces, or he wasn't this, or he wasn't that, and he was only really a Ranger. And if I had $1 for every time I had that conversation, like, nobody cares. And we have to get past that, Liberty. That's the only way. It's the only way.
Absolutely. And everybody has something to offer. Something 100%. Different.
Follow what you want. Okay, I believe in free speech, but keep it positive. Like, just let a lot of that crap and crud go, because it dominates the industry too much. Because then somebody like you comes along and you say what you've said at the start of this show, and you've been through so much, you've witnessed horrible things, and you're like, I want to just own a gun to protect myself. Like, honestly, like, when somebody looks at you and you don't tell that story, and they say, what's your background? Do you want to like punch them in the face?
Yeah. I mean, I'll get a lot of like people who don't really think that I'm doing this for the right reasons. And so,
I think you're doing it for the most right reasons.
Right. And I believe that, because this is something that I would be doing if there were no, Instagram, if there were no, forget the social media stuff, forget all that stuff. This is how I lived my life before, and this is how I'm going to live my life forever. So there is no compromise there for me. This is just the way it has to be. And then my job, like what I do now, is even more so, because now I feel like I'm helping, not just, I'm helping myself feel safe, but in what I do, I kind of mentioned what I did earlier. I work for U.S. Law Shield, and they're a group of attorneys that basically created a company to defend people like me who may have to draw their weapon or may have to use self-defense. And the gun community is just kind of, I think, also thinking about the here and now. And big talkers like, I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to kill someone and this, that, and the other, if they come near me, whatever, they're all trash talking. Well, there's an aftermath that a lot of people aren't aware of. And I think that's also part of what, you're kind of saying, is that it needs to be like a whole education of really what it means to be a true carrier, a concealed carry permit holder, and what comes with that, and what all that means. It's a lot of responsibility, and I'm, just very happy that I learned this all early on, because I do see that the people that are coming into it now, I'm so glad that people are out there. Most gun sales ever, month of March, like that is awesome to me. That makes me completely happy. I don't have any hesitation about feeling some kind of way about, somebody that may not think the same as me having a gun. That doesn't even cross my mind. I'm super happy about that. And now it's just more promotion for us who already know what to do to get out there and spread the message and encourage these people to learn more, get training and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah.
Well, it's insanely frustrating, and I agree with what you said. And I think people need to realize that there are people like yourself that have been through things on a higher level, right? There are people that have been through or are fighting this battle at a higher level, right? And there are people that are trying to promote levels of advocacy from different angles, okay? Firearms ownership is not always about just law enforcement or military or whatever, okay? What about the other large group? And it's not just about those things. And that's just a point I try to make to people. It's not about how you held the gun in an Instagram photo, okay?
No.
It's not about that. And I look for people that are talking about it in a positive manner, that take their defense seriously, that want to be advocates, that want to understand and learn and grow from within and get better. And isn't that what it's all about? You know, Sean Barros, the shooter, he said something to me once that stuck with me. He said, the thing is, everybody forgets is everybody starts somewhere, right? And everybody is perfect from 20,000 feet away, or 5 miles away. It's just, so coming back to the, this fight and this battle for rights, it's something that's gets insanely frustrating, right? And we get emotional about. And I think part of that's due to we're all passionate about it in our own way. And I think some people just need to stop trying to be perfect and just, as corny as it sounds, just be real. And it's just that's what it is. If you put a camera on somebody 24 hours a day, they're not going to be perfect all the time. Nobody is. And that's just the way it is. Like, I'm sorry if that upsets the greater gods of Instagram gun lords, but that's just life. And at the end of the day, we all just do the best we can. And I think, I think we should always strive for a certain level of protection, but you're never going to make everybody happy. You're never going to be all things to everyone. So the firearms business is really an interesting one, but you've been to the shows, you get a chance to walk around. When you go to these shows and you're kind of bopping around and looking, at brands and at companies, what do you see? What do you think about what folks are doing out there and how they're conducting their business?
Marketing wise?
Well, marketing and just the appeal and, what do you love and hate?
I feel like the industry does try to cater a lot to professional shooters, and a lot of what I've heard in like being, just as an influencer, like hearing that I may not, not from the companies themselves, but like from other professional shooters or like what you're talking about, kind of people you're talking about, is like, well, she doesn't fit that mold, because she's not a pro shooter or she's not a pro this, that, or the other. And I think that scares average people off, because I'm an average person. Like, I don't strive to be a professional, shooter. And so that's not something that's going to be something I ever do. I'm not interested in right now, but I think that kind of maybe puts people off, especially females, because I feel like females really need to feel safe about when they're getting into something that's unknown. If they feel too intimidated by it, then they feel like, okay, that's just too far reaching for me, and I can't get there. So instead, I'm just not going to buy a gun, versus making realistic images, like, families and moms and dads, where this is the reason why we carry, I feel would be a lot more impactful. And just on that for a second, like, I just wanted to tell you that, like, my 10-year-old, I have a 10-year-old daughter, and sometimes we're out late somewhere, we're on a dirt road somewhere, or we're somewhere where, she may not feel safe. I love it when she asks me, Mom, do you have your gun? That to me is like, I just love her right there. The angels are singing everything because I know that it has been ingrained in her now that is a method for us to secure ourselves, to make ourselves safe. And that is, I feel like the message that needs to be put out there, the reason behind it.
And then to make matters worse, we have on top of all this, people like Beto O'Rourke. We have people talking about snatching and grabbing our stuff. And from within everything that we talked about earlier to deal with. It's crazy. So, when you dig through all this, somebody like your opinion, I feel, is so closer to the mainstream truth than so many other people that I have on the show. Your opinion of what you think of a gun store when you walk in, your opinion of what you think of even SHOT Show, and as an example, what appeals to you. And the reason I say that is because something triggered you. We know the event triggered you to become a gun owner. And more often than not, right, the average person that's going to grow our market, like we just witnessed last month with the amount of gun purchases, that's what's going to happen. An event is going to trigger that person to go make a purchase. You don't buy toilet paper unless you need it. Okay?
Right.
You don't buy water unless you need to drink it. People went out and purchased firearms at record rates last month because, number one reason, something triggered them to go and purchase it. So when those triggers happen, those are the best customers to get a sample reading from. Okay? I think, Liberty, I have a prediction. I want to get your thoughts on it. I think the industry needs to, I think it's going to. I think we're slowly seeing the turn now because the industry is widely influenced by the theaters that we were in fighting, right? So when, you see the people walking around the shows and the costumes and the get-ups and everything, they come out. The average person that buys guns and walks around with a gun wears a jeans and a t-shirt, okay?
Yep.
So you get these people that come out, these folks, and they play the role. But by and large, the folks that are in our industry and are, creating what the narrative will be in the next 10 years are going to be influenced by whatever theater we're in. We're in a whole new space now post-COVID. Whole new space we've never been in.
Oh, yeah.
This is all new. And it's about to flip everything on its head because there's no more, did you see the new Flat Dark Earth Cry pants? We're fighting a battle in our own houses. So
in our pajamas.
Yeah, in our pajamas. Exactly. So it's going to be, hopefully this SHOT Show or this center, you're going to see people walking around in the pajamas because that's real. Because you know as well as I know, what are we going to see at the shows? We're going to see medical equipment. We're going to see personal PPE, personal protection equipment. We're going to see face shields. We're going to see things like that because that's what people are going to be jonesing on.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's going to create a very, very interesting dichotomy. And I think we're moving towards a very interesting shift in the industry. And people better shift their thinking really quick. Because if they continue to have the thinking like a previous guest I had on, that's like, oh, you can only own a gun if you... So I asked the question, where do you start then? Where do you start? If it's not okay to go buy a gun unless you've had 97 hours of training, where do you start? If it's not okay to go buy a gun if you can't take the perfect photo with one, then where do you start? Please, I'm asking the gods of the industry. Tell me. So I think it all needs to drip away. And listen, there's a lot of people out there that believe in what they're doing. So live and let live and let people do what they enjoy as fun and what they believe doing. I spent the better part of the last 10 years doing a lot of different training, tactical training, being involved in a lot of different things. And I'm just at the point where I'm just so tired of, the same old stuff. and it's got to shift. And I look at people like I said on a previous show, like John Lovell getting into streaming, and I look at podcasting, and I'm telling you, voice and video is a great equalizer, because not a lot of people can get out there and have a conversation. They were just like Instagram models, you know what I'm saying? And that's shifting.
Right.
And that had its time, don't get me wrong. But if you can't have a conversation, or you can't go on a podcast, or you can't do streaming, because our industry will grow exponentially, Liberty, if it gets away from it being about the gun. I know it, because I can watch a Nike commercial and never see a pair of Nikes. I can watch a Coca-Cola commercial and not see a can of Coke. You go on and put on Red Bull TV or Monster TV. I've said it 100 times. How many times do you see a can of Monster? It needs to stop being about the gun.
Yeah, absolutely. And the gun industry can't be a clique that we don't want to let anybody into. I mean, we're acting like we're in some, we're the purpose here is to spread that message, not to like keep it to ourselves so we can be tactical. We have to spread it and make it available to the common people, basically. They need it.
I just don't know.
Those are the women that are dying, getting raped and murdered in their own homes. They need it.
And, you mentioned it before, fellas like the man in the church, are great patriots, great heroes. And they're the culmination of when good training meets good awareness skills and the ability to do what was necessary. And folks like him should be applauded. And that's, held up on a pedestal. I mean, it's just, that's the stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's the good stuff. And look, every industry is going to have, we talked about this off air, every industry is going to have advocates. Every industry is going to have its people who have their legalese. But I'm telling you, Liberty, I'm tired of seeing, if I see one more, conceal carry video or Glock 19 video, or, I'm going to do a review on this, I'm going to lose I get it. Reviews are going to always be there, but like, it's just gotten to a level where like all the sap needs to drip out of it. And it just needs to become, it needs to become real, and it needs to stop being about, here's a cool tactical video I'm going to do, and here's a cool
because who can compete with that? Who can compete with that? I certainly don't have the time to compete with that. I'm a mom and I have a full-time job, and I have to carry a gun for protection. So that might not be appealing to a lot of people, the majority of people. And I totally agree with you that needs to change, especially after coronavirus. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for that.
It's going to be mighty interesting because the theater is shifting. Now, you're involved in all kinds of stuff. One of the things we talked about, offline was what you're doing with the Law Shield stuff. And I want to hear more about that. And I told you I want to hear more about that offline too. Give me some insight into that and how that all works.
So Law Shield is a membership program where you pay a monthly fee to become a member of a legal network that will defend you after the gun, after the fight. So we call it the fight after the fight. And the great thing about this is, we don't think about somebody comes into my house at 2:00 in the morning and I shoot them. The police that are going to come, they're investigating a murder. Okay. Nobody likes that word because there is no penal code that self-defense. Like initially it has to be, they're investigating a murder. There's a dead person, so have to investigate it that way. A lot of people who have had that situation happen, they get arrested. They go to jail. Our attorneys have to go take them out of jail. And with the Law Shield program, it's just it's a security, because when you're in that jail cell, you're in the back of that squad car headed over there because, they want to investigate the facts of your case. Basically, you're stuck having to find an attorney then at 2:00 in the morning to come and defend you. And how realistic is that really?
100%. I mean, I took a minute, in fairness to everyone listening, I took a minute to kind of peruse the website while we were talking about it. There's a lot of cool stuff here, and it's relatively, it's inexpensive. I mean, it's what, $10 a month?
It's very inexpensive. It's $10.95 a month. Um, if you have an incident, like I said, at 2:00 in the morning, you're going to pick up the phone. You're going to call 911. You tell them, I need emergency medical services and I need police to my house. That's all you say. And they teach you this. There are law seminars. They give law seminars. They'll tell you why you don't need to tell every single thing to the 911 operator. Because oftentimes when we're defending, you're in adrenaline at that point. You're saying things that you probably don't even know you're saying. You might be angry that somebody broke in and hit your wife or whatever. And everything's being recorded. Well, as much as we'd like to believe, the police are there to investigate and do their job. It's not their job to defend you or say, oh, Pro 2A, good job for you. Their job is to process the crime scene, and they're going to use all that evidence to determine if you are in the right.
Yeah.
So that's scary to me. If, you shoot somebody running out of your house in the back, that's going to be a problem. And Law Shield is great because they have all these legal seminars that you can attend, and you have an attorney right there, and you can ask them that question. What if I shoot this person leaving my house in the back? And they'll answer that question for you, and you'll know what is legal and what is not. And that way you don't spend the rest of your life in jail, or you don't spend $150,000 like some of these cases. The George Zimmerman case was like, what, $1.5 million? Defending yourself, basically.
Yeah.
All the legal fees are included. There's no limit. So if it's a $1.5 million case, it's $1.5 million legal fees that we cover.
Yeah, I like it. And it's something that I think makes a lot of sense. And, I can't shoot any holes in it, no pun intended. I can't wait to try it out, give it a test run and see, troll around the website a little bit and check it out. But I think for the most part, I think it's just a matter of people need to have this, some level of coverage, if you want to call it, umbrella coverage, whatever you want to call it. People need to have this. And I think it's a worthwhile cause and something I'll probably be talking more with you about. Because
those judges, it's real important for anybody listening to know that those judges, they might not be pro-gun. The prosecuting attorney, they might not be pro-gun. They're going to want to make an example of you if their agenda is to push their anti-gun, narrative. And they will do that. And so even we've had cases where the person may have been in the right, but maybe they did something a little, maybe they shot a warning shot into the air. That's illegal. That you can't do that. That's, you're endangering people around you according to law. So things like that, where you may think you're like trying to help yourself, but you end up getting yourself in more trouble.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I've heard is that the talking, we tend to talk a lot when we're under pressure. And so that tends to get people in a lot of trouble.
Well, Heidi Smith said it best, Clint Smith's wife. She said there's a lawyer attached to every bullet you shoot.
There you go.
So I think this makes a lot of sense. We'll talk more about it for sure, but I think people should check this out. I'll put the link down below in this episode so people can take a look at it. It's crazy that people don't, purchase more of this. You said they have a big enrollment, but I would think that this would be something that would make total sense.
We're trying to, if you are taking a concealed carry class in the U.S., it's really likely that you are being offered Law Shield in that class. We try to get into every class because we think that's how important this is. Mm-hmm. We don't want to see any more people. We'll have people call us after they've shot somebody and they're already in jail and they're already having to defend themselves. And they're like, hey, can I purchase this now? Sorry, buddy, it's too late. You should have just had it a day sooner. When you're in that class, you should have signed up for it. Because it's going to happen. If you purchase a gun, you're buying it because you might have to use it. And it's great to have that kind of attorney in your pocket. You can just call the attorney and you can ask them questions. We have a hotline for that. If you have hey, can I carry my gun into this restaurant that has a 50-50 sign or whatever, or 30-06 sign or whatever that maybe doesn't look like a little gun that they circle like the Ghostbusters gun, question like that.
And you can add so many layers, like a expert witness, bail bond, monthly hunter's shield, multi-state protection. I like this.
Yeah, if we even bail you out, There's even a plan. We'll go take you out of jail. I've heard that some of our executives have gone as far as they've gone and fed dogs of some of our members who couldn't get home. They go the distance because they care. And that's why I love the program, is because it wasn't created out of some, scheme of insurance. It's because these people truly care about Americans and their rights and the rights to carry. And it's a great program to be a part of. I'm really proud to work there and be a part of it.
Well, I like it. I think it's good stuff. And I'm glad you came on and talked a little bit about it, shared your story. Believe it or not, it's been over an hour.
I know. It went by so fast, John.
It flies. I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate everything, you're trying to bring to light. And I think your story is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think your story is amazing. And I think, more people need to realize, I think we uncovered a couple key things. I just think more people have to realize that, there's gun owners come in all shapes and sizes. And I think that there's a lot of good in people, and I believe in people. And I think that at the end of the day, people just got to be nicer to each other. And a lot of the BS and everything else needs to stop. And I think we can accomplish some really great things with the right people in charge and the right people, pushing the right agenda. And, do you. I mean, that's all you can say, right? Do you. And,
right.
I'm totally
save the negative for the other side.
Seriously. And, curve it. But we'll have to do this again at some point in person or, coming up. But I want to definitely hear more. I want to give you the last word. Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can look you up, and how to come in contact with you.
So I'm online. My Instagram handle is Liberty Austin with an E. So it's Liberte. And it's, I'm on Facebook as well. I have a website. Also visit our U.S. Law Shield website. That's where I work. And if y'all have any questions about that, feel free to DM me directly if you have any questions specifically about the program.
Well, it's amazing. And you got a ton of stuff on Instagram. You put a ton of content on there. You're pretty available, pretty accessible there. Lots of cool stuff if you guys check it out. The U.S. Law Shield's an absolute definite. People got to go check it out. And what the best way to reach you is DM or email?
Yep, DM or email. My email's on my social pages. Feel free to drop me an email. I have got lots of women that'll email me and ask me what type of gun they think they should get. Stuff like that. I love those kinds of questions. So, yep, I'm available.
Well, that's good. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank, especially you, Liberty. I want to thank the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. There's a huge list there, all clickable links. Go check them out. And, listen, big thanks to Courts and Firearms. Go check out the companies that support the show, and go check out Liberty and some of what she's got going on. She's got a lot of great content on her page, and it's a lot of fun having you on. Folks like yourself that have such a great story to share, and you shared an insanely personal one, so I can't thank you enough for that.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I've had a great conversation as well, so look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again, no doubt. Well, we're out.